Welcome everybody, or anybody who is out there tonight on this wonderful January 2nd. Welcome to Frank and his people in Pine Ridge. Glad you're listening in again. I'll keep my phone right near the computer. Um, we've got a really interesting group here tonight. There's 8 of us. That's the number for infinity. Maybe we'll come up with some really infinite suggestions tonight. If people have things they want to ask or add in, please let us know. You're welcome to do so. For people here who hear this later and play it later, a lot of people said they were going to listen to the recording. Feel free to do so. It'll be up on YouTube soon, and spread it around. If you get anything out of it, share it out there. Share all the programs from this 7 days of healing. They have really been excellent, not just ours in the storytelling, all those have been excellent, but throughout the event, there's some great material there. So we're going to dig into this. We do have this split. Others have asked this too. I'll put that out there. There is another wisdom circle tomorrow night because so many of our wisdom people so graciously wanted to join. We split it into 2 parts. So anybody who hears this and is not here tonight, wants to come tomorrow night, you're welcome. We hope to see you here. So we've kind of introduced ourselves around, and I'm just asking if anyone feels strongly moved to do an opening prayer. And if Aliane?
Yes, I would be happy to do the opening prayer. Dear universe, dear Mother Earth, our ancestors, and all of love and light, we thank you for bringing us together here today to connect to and to speak about water. We also pray to water for guidance. We ask our protectors to please protect this sacred circle and to help us be centered and grounded in love, and to speak the truth and to come as we are to receive and to share with love. Please guide us, please show us the way, and reach into our hearts so that we may share, that we may experience love with each other, with water, with the earth, and with everything that exists. We thank you once again with all our hearts, and we pray that you ground us, protect us, and show us the way. We thank you with all our hearts. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you. So we've got 10 people right now in Pine Ridge, which is in South Dakota. It's a Lakota reservation. And they're just saying that is a beautiful prayer and thanking you. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So somebody from one side of the world is appreciated by Indigenous folks on the other side. We need to see more of that for sure. And we're starting to, I think. Tonight, we want to kind of focus in on water and healing, which is what most of this event is about. But we can go in any direction we want as we do that. And we can tap into whatever moves us. Cat, infinite wisdom, yes. Tanya, I didn't see your note, sorry. So, Veronica, welcome. Veronica's bringing in another part of the world. She's in Uruguay. So we're really stretching the lines tonight. It's perfect. Maya, why don't you do the poem and continue to set us? Let's everybody continue to, we've been saying this at each one of our events, continue to go out of your head and into your heart. And we'll ask Maya to help us do that a little further.
Yes, as a poet, many of my poems come out as a prayer or as a blessing, and in that same way, just my heart. Often they are written just as one flow of water of words that come, and this is one I've shared before. But again, I offer this as a focus and as a blessing for all of us, with water as our teacher and our guide. May you open your eyes to water, then your heart, seeing, feeling her as love, mother of all life, of vast intelligence informing the shape of things, carrier of memory, teacher of force and flow, and surrender to the formless when the time has come. May you recognize your own nature in her shimmering mirror, the nature of the universe in her spiral dance. May you find the path of least resistance as she eases around stones, kissing them as she passes, as if they were not obstacles, but friends. May you always honor the ebb and swell of your own unique tides, and still seek to embrace with compassion all that is different from your own dream. May you drink and have the thirst you came into this life with quenched before you leave. May you drink and have the thirst you came into this life with quenched before you leave. Oh.
Also beautiful. Thank you. So continue, folks. Try to let your head slow down and get into our hearts. And that's us here on the panel, or we here on the panel, I guess, and anyone who happens to be listening in. Okay, we've got Pine Ridge got lost, but they're now back. Okay. I was going to ask Sue to sing a song, but I think we'll wait a little while and we'll have that as a nice break and a breather at some point. So if at any point we all feel like, oh, it's time for a song, let's draft Sue to bring a song in. So water.
And I would just like to share, I have this container, crystal container of water with a crystal in it, rose quartz, and to receive all the blessings and the teaching and the wisdom and the loving energies of this circle. And I'm doing that for all the circles, and we'll offer it to Grandmother Ocean at the end of this week.
Very good. Yep, I've got some of my waters here too. Probably too many of them. So water and healing is kind of the focus of this whole week, but we can go in lots of directions, obviously. Angelique, who spoke earlier, introducing herself, really worked hard and put up a beautiful honoring of Standing Rock. So there is a page within the week-long event here. If you go look for it, take a look at that page, that honoring. It's really, really well done, and people up there are seeing it, and that's great. Because for me, this latest evolution of caring about the water and deciding that we're going to do something about the water came out of Standing Rock. When we were there, physically and virtually, all of us, that just brought everyone together. That brought people of all different cultures, colors, religions, male, female, and everything else you can imagine. And it works perfectly. So maybe there's a good starting point. How do we take that energy? And anybody can take these. We'll just kick them around. Just ask for the talking stick. How do we take that energy and how do we translate it into what we want to be doing globally to create a better place for ourselves and our children? I used to say create a better place for 7 generations forward. We don't have that luxury anymore. It's here now. So even as we create for them, we're creating for ourselves and for some of you who are in generations behind us. So how do we do that? How do we capture that energy?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chief Jim. And that's a very important question. Or that's a very sensitive question. How do we tap into that energy? One of the ways of tapping into that energy is what we are just doing, trying to respect and trying to come back to our core essentials of life. As you know, that water is one of the important elements that are essential for existence. So if you want to sustain a generation, you want to live long, you must know what the essence of life is. And for you to know what the essence of water is, you must first go back in history. What does water really stand for? Before the Western philosophy began to chunk out the concept of water is life, indigenous people from Africa, from the Caribbean islands, from America, from Oceania, from Australia, from New Zealand, they've always known that there is something unique about water. It does not have the voice and the language we resonate, yet you know when it is upset. It does not have eyes, or it doesn't have a paper where you can write on it and then you see what you've written. But you know, once it touches you, your memory never goes. Yeah, we've seen some of the destructive nature of water over the years, whether in form of flooding, whether in form of rain. But we've also seen, and we know from indigenous people, that water is a purification medium. Water regenerates, that all our body has a large percentage of water. So the only way we can tap this energy is to remind every single human on earth that our origin has been meshed in a lot of things. But one thing is certain, that our lives needs refreshing from time to time. Our lives need to be edified from time to time. And the concept of refreshing our mind, refreshing our soul, cannot come from our political systems, cannot come from alone the Western form of education, cannot come alone from our years of engaging in technology. Rather, it comes from us observing and respecting those essence of life. So again, before I will drop my comment, it's important we also know what water is to us. Water is also a keeper of time. Water also keeps records of what goes. Just going through the beach or going through an eroded gully that water has passed through can give you the level of years that water has existed. So water is also one way that we can keep time. And it's something that people do not always reckon with. People think it's all about the moon, the stars, the galaxy. But water in its fluid state, in its cohesive state, these are qualities that are attributed to water that we all know, keeps time and keeps and reckons with actions of humans over a period of time. So it's important we state that for the records. So if we're going to tap into this energy, these are what we'll tell our kids. That in as much as possible that you are living now, beware that water will keep time of what you have done over the period that you've existed here. And for the elders, that yes, the elders have experienced fully well the destructive nature of water if we start to play with water or disrespect water, if we do not honor water, if we do not in our own harness its power or its energy effectively. Secondly, water is also a way of purifying ourselves. The Christian religion uses water, they call it baptismal effect, to re-engineer the soul. Very important. Water is also a way of seeking justice from the part of the continent where I come from. When people do things that are terribly bad, 200 and 300 years ago in Africa, people are sent, okay, put your feet into that stream. If you come back from the deepest portion of that street unscathed, then you are free to go. So these are the ways we can channel the energies to young people and to everyone, that water means a lot to different people. Yes, water is good for farming, is good to drink, is used to replenish, but we should also know that water has more symbolic roles for us and for humanity. So hence the need for every one of us in our own little way to harness this energy and use our storytelling platform that we intend to mirror to people what water means. You know, it's a keeper of time. It records the passage of time. Water can be a purification platform. Water can be a tool for justice. And more than ever before, we should be that vehicle to seek for justice for water, because we know that it may not speak its language, but we feel it within us because we are connected. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you, Daniel. What an amazing way to open the discussion part. Who wants to follow that?
I'm fascinated with the elemental forms that water takes. Yesterday, while I was on top of the mountain, the sun was behind snow that was being forced out through pressurized guns. And at a certain angle, when water and light combine, they create a rainbow effect. And so this was a snow bow, and it arced in a perfect smile. And as I was looking at it, I thought to myself, what could be the story of snow bows? What could be the story of raindrops? What could be the story of water in all of its form? We are mostly water. Our planet is mostly water, yet we're so differentiated. I was in such wonder and awe and gratitude for the intense colors that were generated from the physical positions of water and light and air. That's all.
Thank you, Kat. Beautiful. By the way, Kat does a wonderful job of capturing the essence of conversations. If you look in the chat column, she's already started doing that. And maybe she'll capture more if she thinks of them. I always save those when we're done, because that's where I can pull up the important pieces of what we say. And she got one there that's certainly moved me, as Daniel said it, and that's water flows and records time. Absolutely. Whatever time is. Sure.
So getting back to what you were saying, and I've always spoken about this, like the disconnection we've had from nature and from water is something I would like to kind of bring to the front again. Because, for example, when I started trying to connect to water, then I figured our connection as a tribe to water. And there were various stages for us, like we originate and we're born of the Himalayas, and so are the rivers that are there. And from there, we move forward. And it was so important, the rivers for us, which I didn't know, and which I found out. When someone is born, we are introduced, when we're born, we're introduced to the river, and the river knows our name. And then when we get married, the confluence of the two rivers bless us. As they become one, they pray for us and they send us loving energies and blessings for us to be one with our partners. When we're older, we share the story of our lives with the rivers. And then when we die, one of the bridges to the other side is in the river. And all of this is so beautiful to know. And the rivers then move on to like the sea and the ocean. They come back as mist, as rain, as fog, and they come back to the Himalayas and back again like the circle. And us being so connected in such pivotal times of our lives are shared with, and they're witness to it, but we've forgotten to go there. We don't go there anymore. Many people don't. And I think, how do we get the younger generation, especially, to know these stories, to know our connection to the river? I think that is something that is very important. And like, how do we do that? And that's something I've been trying to do. And storytelling is definitely, and art is definitely one of the ways in which I've been lucky to do it. And this is a big thing, this disconnection, this not knowing of our connection, and how do we do that is actually a question I would also like to put forward. We do it in our own ways, but since the elders have also been doing it for such a long time, I would like to ask, how did you go about it?
Great comments and a great question as well. Water, Daniel was talking too about how water can be both constructive and builds things, and it's also destructive and pulls things down, depending on what's needed, I think. And I've lived through some of those destructive phases and some of the constructive phases. The storytelling piece is, really interesting. We decided when this week was created that we would take on storytelling, Maya and I, and then invited Veronica and Tanya to do it with us. Thank goodness, because it's taken 4 people. It's grown so rapidly. Storytelling has been around for such a long, long time, but it's definitely making a resurgence. And I told a quick story. Maya and I did a little storytelling 101 the other day, kind of the how-tos for people who have never done it. And it's working with some of the folks online, especially the young people. They would ask me questions, especially some of the First Friday young people. They'd ask me questions, and I would, try to answer them as best I could, based on my experiences and especially based on my mistakes, so they wouldn't have to repeat them. And I used to see half of them starting to fall asleep. And, I don't blame them. Who wants to listen to somebody just up there talking? At one point, one of them asked me if I could share a story about water. And I did. And everybody who was there listening was wide awake. And I realized, okay, it's time to start doing more storytelling again. So maybe that's just it. And maybe it's just we do it. We don't worry about it too much. I don't plan too much how I'm going to tell a story. It usually just comes. But I think if more of us continue to do it again, it becomes a really powerful tool. I see Daniel agrees. Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, it's really important. And you guys are all excellent storytellers. I'm going to see who else. I'm going to see if I can call on Sue a minute. I'm just thinking of a time we were on top of a mountain and living in Colorado at the moment. And the floods hit. I guess that's 5 years ago now.
2013.
When was it?
2013.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah.
Darn. Whew. Time's going too fast. I'm just curious what Sue thought as we sat up there those first couple of days before we had to jump on the helicopter.
I actually became a zombie in front of the TV, because I just couldn't believe that this was happening, and I could see, yeah, I knew it was, but I just it was just so, what's the word, just I want to say dramatic and so powerful to have taken place, that it could, that water's could do such a thing. And it just I remember just kind of laying there in a stupor, and I just that's all I can really say. I don't remember too much other than it was just very surreal. And at that time, we were up high, so we were out of the real dangers. So we really didn't connect to really what was happening out there to an extent, until we did actually realize there were helicopters coming in picking up people, because no one came to let us know that it was a good chance we probably needed to leave there because it might be a while before we could even get out of the area that we were in. So, and once we just being told that, we had to gather a backpack full of, essentials and our animals. And that was pretty much it. And just get on that helicopter. And just the actual flying over the area and looking down and seeing what had really happened is just, it was surreal. It was just incredible. It was an incredible experience. And it just goes to show you how powerful nature is. And obviously with all the changes that are occurring in this world, that was just a part of it. The cure that was 8 years ago already. And we're still seeing a lot of powerful things happening in the world. And it's almost becoming a fact of life until we can really shift things and change, and all of us can really connect with the earth and connect with everything we see around us, and open our hearts. And I think the more we open and connect with the waters and with nature, the more powerful that connection will be, and the more, I think, the calmer things will come into balance again. But it's just getting that information out there to people who are not open to listening yet. And that's how I feel the groups of this nature and all that's happening, and all these different organizations getting together and doing things of this nature is just so powerful and so important to get that information in. It'll trickle down, whoever connects, they'll share it, and it'll just, it's time. I mean, we have to, it's time. So.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to hear, because yeah, Sue really did go almost catatonic. She was just sitting there in front of the TV. And it does, it has that kind of power. One of the first images we saw, once we realized how bad it was, people were down below near where the major flood was coming, which looked like a tsunami coming down the canyon. And so there was some person there with his little camera recording, and we thought, oh, that looks familiar. Oh, that's our RV, or at least whatever pieces of it are left. We saw it picked up from where it was near the river and just thrown down the canyon. And that's a very interesting impact on you when that happens. And people are getting, of course, much worse experiences than that right now. But that let us see just how impactful something like that is. So just telling those stories, Diane, you've got those in your part of the world. I'm sure Veronica does. I know that Daniel does. Yeah, we have to tell them so they can move around. Angelique?
Yeah, I wanted to speak a little bit to what was being shared. The idea of our youth and sharing what needs to be relayed. Okay, I'm not sure how I'm going to say this, but like when we have that personal connection with the water, when we're having those conversations with our water, when we're restructuring and getting downloads from the water that we are, through the way that it works. Because the electron is just a cloud until we choose. So once we choose, then that goes directly into the proton, which is the vacuum, the void, and where all of the information is held. So there's nothing that we don't have access to. My personal thought is that comes out and ricochets, once it's recorded, shoots out of the proton, hits that electron ring, and that becomes the law of resonance, or like attracts like, or like The Secret, that whole idealism about that. And the way that I perceive it, or the way that is being shown to me is not so much from a physical place to initiate these physical actions, but to have the communication and ask in that state, in that place of the molecular structure, like sending that out into the proton that is everywhere all over the globe. So when we're sitting there in our prayer and we're having our conversations with our water and we're like asking what we want to see come to fruition on this planet, like asking the water to guide it and to bring it in. It's not our, like, it's our job to listen. This is my personal thought. This is our job to listen right now and to act according to those downloads, like those heart, like where I just felt inspired and I went and did it. And this kind of speaks also to what was being said, what Sue was saying about, you know, how powerful the water could be and how, well, you weren't told. What if we were in connection enough with the water and our own personal water that we would hear, it's time to get up, it's time to move, it's time to take this trip, and we don't have to understand why, but we're in tune enough with our own water and with the communication and the downloads that we're getting, because we're working on this plane now instead of this plane, this physical plane. Again, not to say that we're not doing physical action, but we're creating it from this other dimension where we're actually working with the water in partnership together in universal law, the way that all of things are created and played out from that first word that went out into the water. That was the foundation. That's the blueprint of how to create in this dimension. And so when we are practicing that and when we're in attunement and in alignment, then those messages are going to be very clear and compel us to do. Like, we won't be like, oh, I don't know, what should I do? Like, it's going to be like, I have no doubt this, I'm doing this and nothing is going to stop me from doing this. And that is the same kind of thing that we can ask the water to relay to our youth, to ask everybody, like, please, like, they're all made of water. Make it so that they can't ignore this call. If they are like-minded and like-hearted and love the planet and whoever, whatever, you know, like, it doesn't matter who they are, what they're doing. It's just like that heart resonance. The water will know and the water will be heard. And if we could all send out that call and that ask in our prayers to please make it be heard, like, make it to the point where they don't even question it. They don't have to understand it, but they feel compelled to act. And so when we can start implementing the tools that, not the tools, because it sounds like the partnership that we have through water, and working together with the water, then all of a sudden these tasks that seem like, oh my gosh, there's so much, there's such a big reach, how do we get to them? It's not about us trying to figure it out. It's about us asking the water, please will you assist us in this, and let the water guide everybody, because it's not for, we have to come from a place of heart. And when we overthink it, then it gets convoluted and it gets complicated and dramas come in and all of this other stuff starts to happen. And then we're nowhere near our heart. But if we can stay centered and be in that heart space, then maybe we know, hey, I don't know why. Hey, babe, let's go take a trip to whatever, you know, and you're at a boulder. You're not even there, you know, or you have this conversation and you don't know why, but you felt compelled to smile and say hi to this person. And they turn out to really facilitate something beautiful for you. So in terms of where we're going, I feel that this is critical to get to this place of understanding and this relationship with water, because it could be a life-saving thing. It probably, in many cases, will end up being a life-saving thing, because if we're I don't know. I think that if I was dying of thirst, not me in particular, but hopefully I would pray it would be me as well. But if we were dying of thirst and there was no, no way, the system collapsed, I would pray that my relationship with water is strong enough that she would care for me, that she would make that provision for me no matter where I was at, no matter who I was around, no matter what. If that was something that I desperately needed, and I had that kind of partnership where she knew that I loved and respected her just like a partner, and we're heart connected like that, that she would care enough about me to make provisions some way or another to help me to move through what I needed to. And so where we're going in these times, I think it's really going to be important to have these kind of relationships to say, hey, yeah, get up, move, get out of that place of danger because you're not supposed to be there. That's not the frequency you're at. Or, hey, you're thirsty? Okay, here's some magic because that's where we're moving to. And we need to, get rid of those belief systems and those programs that be like, that's impossible. Like, no, everything is possible right now. Everything is possible.
It's
And
true.
we need to claim that. So thank you.
You bet. Thanks. Everything is possible. It always is, and we have to remember that. Yeah, those are great words. I'm going to pass this over in a minute. I just want to share one thing quickly, and I know Maya wants to speak, so she can in a moment too. I got a message from the young folks up there with Frank on the reservation, and so they had a question that there's a group of people who have been recognized, I guess, several times as younger folks who are key players in the climate change movement. And Chase Iron Eye's daughter is one of those, who's been a longtime member of one of our groups. And they want to know if Daniel is one of those because he looks very familiar. And I believe, Daniel, I don't know if you're sitting there. I believe that would be you, isn't it, Daniel?
Yeah, I'm one of those too.
Yeah. So great respect for Daniel for all he does. He is recognized as one of the global leaders, young people in climate change, and that's pretty amazing. So thank you, Daniel. Keep it up. So with that, I'm going to shift a bit. Veronica is here from Uruguay, the fourth of our what are we? Proctors? Whatever we are.
Thank you, Jim.
And she's going to take over, and I'm going to sit back. And Maya did want to speak when you can.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jim. I feel very inspired to listen to you all. For me, it's like the first time I'm in the 7 days of rest and radical healing, and I don't know how the river brought me here, and I'm very happy because every time I'm more, I understand more and more why I was flowing with the waters. And listening to you all, I got inspired to have an improvised story about how water got to the earth, or how, we are here now. So billions of years ago, there was this planet that was beautiful and dry and very hot within, with a very warm heart, and with a lot of the light of the sun. And once there was this coming from the space, this being, the water. And when they merged together, they became one in its own way. And from these oceans that moved and the rivers that were flowing, like drops, came crawling from the waters, beings of all the sorts, insects and reptiles and fishes within the water and mammals and humans, and everyone came out of, and the ocean kind of spread everywhere in different shapes, partly earth, partly fire, partly air, and water, mostly water. So they started walking and moving, and humans started to create new things, they were very curious about where they were living and discovering, having feet and being waters with feet and moving around, and they started to create things and explore the planet, and they were very curious, like children moving around. And they shared the stories from the beginning with their tribes, and they gather around the fire, these waters, and they swim in the rivers, and they became one. They came back to themselves and to the ocean thousands of times. And with the years and the years, they started to explore so much out of the water, and every time they went less and less, or they lost the stories or the memory of that they were actually that ocean and that river and that, yeah, that being together with the earth and to everything. And then it came the time when they were so far away that the voices of the elders from the ocean started calling them back, like it's time to come back. Remember where you come from. Remember that we are, you are one with us. You are a drop. You came out of as a drop, and you came as different beings, and we are, all one. And these humans started hearing these voices, and they slowly came together in different sorts of ways. They tried to find different ways, and sometimes they didn't understand exactly what was happening, because they were so used to this new way that they were created that they thought that was the actual meaning of their lives, and that, something so that is always there that you can count on all the time, like the ocean or the river, is, it would always be there. So they forgot that it was actually the most valuable thing and the origins, and not so much into creating, exploring, and so the exploring period, it kind of ended, and they started listening to the voices and coming back and bathing in the ocean and feeling the calling within their hearts, and the sun shining, and the earth vibrating, and the ocean taking part of all their skin, and feeling like inside the womb, and remembering the origin within where they come from. So that's how humans, I believe, we are coming back now to the origins, like through understanding, through hearing the calling, and until we mature, like to understand what is the meaning of all these beings we are part of, and we are one, and all of this, yeah, is yeah, we need to listen to the calling so that we can come back to that, and to feel it, and to, but I believe, and this is now the end of the story, I believe maturing is so important to get to understand and to receive these messages. So I'm very happy that we are here to repeat these messages, like all of you are sharing, because the more we hear it, the more we kind of like take it in and integrate it, and it's like we feel the truth in it, because we have heard so much throughout our lives that it comes from outside. Like when people focus in the outside, that things that happen here is because of the outside. Now we are coming back to, I'm always home, and I'm always a drop of this big ocean. We are together. So thank you for listening. And Maya, I know you wanted to share something.
Yeah, so I love your beautiful story though, and it certainly resonates with what I feel, what phase we're in now. But my water molecules in my body were dancing when you were speaking. I so resonate with what you were sharing. And as I said, back in 1987, I had this direct transmission from the water that called me to be loyal to the water, to make a commitment to it. And I didn't even know what that meant at the time. But as I traveled along in my life, I could look back and see that the water has been informing me, directing me. I actually now see water as the source of synchronicity, that this is what brings us together in that, magical way of a secret or whatever, this process of resonance and attraction. And so now in the past years, I've gotten more active of actually calling on the water. I mean, every day now I say, water, guide me, show me what action I can take, show me, you know, connect me with the people, help me to flow with ease and do what I can to speak for you. And I'm feeling it more and more. And actually for me, I'm noticing my way in storytelling, I connect with my water ceremonies. So when I invite people and in the community to do water ceremony, I am one, helping them learn to get out of their minds, shift down into their hearts, to slow down and find that way of coming in resonance with the water, introducing them to the fact that we can speak to water, that water is hearing and receiving, and then we can listen to the water. So I love giving people that first experience, you know, having that. And I was just in Sedona, Arizona for the last couple of weeks and was able to do a number of water ceremonies there with people who had never experienced it before. And this one couple that dear friends of mine, I just did a little water ceremony with them beside the creek, and they seemed very entranced and very engaged in it. They didn't say much after, but the next day we were having a meal together, and the man said to me, the guy of the couple said to me, you know, I want you to know that after we did that ceremony, I feel a shift in my relationship to water. I experience water differently. And even that day, at the beginning of the ceremony, I heard the water in the creek and it sounded one way. And after the ceremony, I heard it differently. It sounded different. It sounded alive to me. And then his wife said, yes, I felt this too. And she's actually a healer, but this was new to her. And so it's just, to me, the most exciting thing is that, to invite people into this and to remind them. Angelique, I have also worked with the Kogi, and remind them of the reciprocity, that water is not just a resource for us, but that we must give back to it, and making offerings and prayers and blessings and gratitude. And that opens up something for people. And I invite them to think of, you know, little offerings to make. So this is just my way. And I'm also an activist, and I can go and take those actions. But like you, Angelique, I'm asking the water more to guide me. You know, where is the best use of my presence and my energy to show up? So very exciting group, and all of you, what you said, and Kat, what you said about the rainbow touched me a lot, because one of the water ceremonies I did while I was there with one other friend was back this beautiful canyon with a deep, deep water creek that went 15, 20 feet deep. It was beautiful. And I felt such a response from the spirit, from the elements, as, you know, I called in the directions, and each direction I called in, there was like an answer. And toward the end, I handed my friend my phone, and he started taking some pictures. He took a picture of our altar. He took a picture of me sitting on the rock, and every single picture had rainbows in it. I didn't see them, you know, with my eyes, but when we got the pictures back, they all had rainbows in a circle around us. And so I felt that the presence of the water was responding to us. And that is my love. My love is to help this become tangible and real for people, and to relate from their hearts. So
Thank you, Maya.
Listen.
Thank you so much, Maya. It's so inspiring to listen to you and how you relate to waters. It's like very healing and eye-opening and heart opening, and really it's like this, you know, this being other self that you are, my other self, relate like that. I can feel it more in me when you share the stories. It's very powerful. I wanted to invite Tanya to share.
Yeah, thank you so much for calling on me. I Angelique, I so resonated with what you said. So I have been, same as what Maya was just saying, like all my cells were kind of just like, oh. And the communication with water is, I think, so key. And I realized that as I'm sitting here and as I've been preparing for this event, that water has been speaking to me for a long time. And I'm only now getting that that's what's been happening, because I'm new to this work specifically. And I lived on a peninsula, Eastern Long Island, for many, many years. And the last few years I lived there, I kept on getting dream after dream after dream of tsunamis hitting the island and crossing over Long Island, right? And now I'm realizing it was just a really strong call for me to move away from there. I knew I had to move like on a different level anyway, but I feel like water was also helping me understand that it's just not the place for me anymore. My time there was done. I did what I had to do there, and it was time to move on. And so it's really interesting that that's sort of the image it shows, but that's what I kept on getting. And as you were speaking and listening to how we need to connect to water, and it's time for all of us to go back and communicate and really listen to it. I was thinking back to the tsunami again. I was thinking back to this tsunami of 2004 that happened. That was happening in Thailand, where so many people died. What really, really struck me from that tsunami was hearing how the animals knew days ahead of time, and all the animals ran up the mountain like days before it actually happened. And that just always stayed with me. And I thought, wow, that level of connection, they really are still connected to what's happening, connected to nature, connected to the water and everything that is happening in their surroundings. And would it be amazing if we could get back there? Because I'm sure we had this at some point, right? I'm sure that people at some point had these abilities, and some of you clearly listen to it now. But I think a society in general, and so many people are so incredibly disconnected from that they can't hear it. And it's so important really to bring all that back. So I'm so grateful to be in circles like this, where people know how to do it, know how to listen to it, and know how to engage and bring the message to those who may just not know about that. So much gratitude for being here.
I'd like to share a wild water story, if I could briefly. These letters here spell W-I-L-D. And this is our dear Jim here. And beside him is Sue. This is the 9th World Wilderness Congress. These letters were organized by the youth of the Congress. All of the elders were over here in this pavilion while they were forming the letters W-I-L. The Hurricane Ida had just hit as we were getting off of the bus, which is why everyone is wearing a bright colored poncho. And as we finished the L, all of the elders who were there were now impatient and walking away. And the youth and I literally had to run after the elders. This is so meta, so fractal. And chase after them and say, please come back. We can't make this. We can't complete this without your help. This is the Magician's Pyramid here. This photograph was chosen as the outstanding photographic environmental action for that year. So, so many brilliant stories about the deluge of these waters. But to me, this picture really represents the importance of all of us working together, all generations, all colors, from all cultures, to form the security of the wild places that we're we were there to conserve. I don't know, Jim and Sue, do you have things you'd like to add?
You want to go first, or don't you have any?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, that was an incredible time down there in Mexico. By the way, we were not walking away. I just want to make clear. These two older ones were not walking away. We were still standing under the pavilion, if I remember. These were some incredible young people. And then we had Jane Goodall as a speaker at part of this conference too. So we had a real mix of folks. I was really moved by that whole thing. I can go back there and relive it. And I do periodically, because it was a great teacher for all of us. We spent time on the pyramids. So we spent time with the ancient ones. We spent a lot of time in the water. Sue had a really intense connection with the water there. She may or may not want to share that. But yeah, it definitely took all of us, and we had such an incredible mix of people. I know attending some ceremonies with some Mexican ceremonial leaders, which were similar to what I was used to and yet totally different, was also very eye-opening, and there was a lot of water in those ceremonies.
Cenotes. A lot of sacred cenotes on the Yucatan Peninsula.
Yes.
And the lazy river, the intense flow, and the sun, the intense sun, baking the water out of our bodies.
Yes. I'm pretty sure that's what happened to me. It baked water right out of my body. I just remember pieces and parts, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but boy, I was not feeling very well. It was just it was very intense, and it was, I remember it was very intense. I remember vaguely seeing the beautiful turquoise waters and feeling floating down those, I don't know what you call them. And after that, it was just pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. And I'll leave it at that.
A dear friend just went on that same trip, and I warned her, said, make sure you have lots of water, lots of sunscreen. 3 adults went to the hospital from that experience. Do you remember Steve, the environmental writer, as well?
Yeah.
And then when we got to the other side in Tulum, in this beach that is a World Heritage Beach of Sian Khan, it was filled every day with plastic. Every day, we all cleaned the beaches. That was 2009. That was 11 years ago. The clogging of our oceans with plastic and sound waves that hurt all the whales and everything. So the magician's pyramid, let's call on the magic of all life to come together in these wild spaces. Release our wild hearts.
Thank you, Kat and Jim and Susan. Wow, it must have been amazing to be in that wild space, intergenerational, and with such a big intention. Thank you for transporting that. And I would like to invite Alian to share.
I just wanted to share, there's something that has been occurring and changing inside of me, and it's this thing of emotions And it's not a personal thing, and I know that. We have collected so much, and we don't know how to make peace with it, love it, release it. And water is here to teach us the way to heal ourselves, the earth. It's calling us to receive its love, to let it flow. It will help us connect and accept and love these emotions, the trauma of the earth, of everybody. And I think it's important for us to acknowledge that it is a time to release now with love, through tears, through prayers, whatever way one finds. But water is here to teach us. Water will show us how. I pray we all connect to water and receive her blessings and her love. Please guide us. Please show us the way and help us be one with you again. We thank you with all our hearts, and we come to you in humbleness. We thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alian. I feel like I would love to honor your waters, our waters, the tears that come through your eyes. That actually is like they're shared, no matter where we are around the world right now. And just maybe close our eyes for like a little moment and share this connection. When we close our eyes, also there's like the space it feels different. So it's almost that we could be in the same place right now, and we are. And this prayer for water to guide us into coming back to our essence. And thank you. Thank you. I just feel very touched by your sharing. Is anyone who would like to share what's going on within right now after this prayer, or what arises in you when you close your eyes and connect with this calling? I must say I live in a community in Uruguay, and the water that I drink is rain water, and the water with the one I shower or I water the plants and I use for, that I connect with for different things is the river. And I cannot drink the water of the river because there is so much how do you say, like I don't know how to say it, like animals like cows and stuff, that they are being raised for meat or milk, and they live close to the river, so there is E. coli in the water of the river where I live, for example. We cannot drink it. So it touches very close, this, like, I mean, the water that you every day have a relationship with is not healthy. And when I hear this prayer, and and you hear Maya, and you hear Angelique, and you hear Jim, and you hear Tanya, and Daniel, and then you more and more feel, that this closeness and this belonging to the water is it touches the heart very deeply, and to know that this state of the water is actually our state too. So how can we, make this shift slowly, and sharing these stories with the children like Maya did today? I feel that is one of the wise things to do. I feel very inspired to have this storytelling for children in my community. I just wanted to share this because this is the waters that are close to me, and I feel right now a bit touched by all of this. It's amazing what you're moving. Thank you so much.
I'm sitting here thinking of feeling the parallel. Thank you, Lian, of we needing to release this flow of the emotion, which is like the flow of the water, the parallel between needing to take the dams down around the world that have stopped the flow of the water, and how that's our individual jobs, to take the dams down that have been holding back the flow of our energy and our emotions, as we invite that to happen on the earth. And how important I've been learning that the water to be able to flow freely is part of balancing our whole planet. And so I think somehow we can contribute to that as we free the waters in our own emotions. So I thank you. Sometimes I feel overwhelmed by the emotions. I feel witnessing not just what's happening to the waters, but the trees and the animals and the bees and the butterflies. And I just lie down on the earth and cry sometimes. And it's good to know that that is an action. That is activism. That's a kind of inner activism that we are contributing when we allow our emotions to flow. And I personally think that's part of the feminine coming back, the feminine energy, which water I see as feminine also, is restoring that honoring of our emotions. So I thank you, Alian. Every time I've been with you and you have prayed from your heart and let your emotions flow, I am so touched. And you help me to value that process in myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Maya. I don't know if Jim wants to share.
Yeah, I think I hadn't intended to share anymore, but as Eliam was speaking, and like Maya, every time we're with her, her energy just triggers things in a beautiful way. So thank you for that again. I was feeling the tears very near the surface, and I wasn't blocking them. If they want to come, they can come. Mine are just very slow to come. Call me later, they'll probably be coming. I was just realizing, though, as she was speaking, and Kat before her, at that wild conference, that was all about young people. And that was incredible. There were some great speakers. Kat's son gave a really stirring talk, but it was mostly orchestrated by the elders. They ran it, and then the younger people participated. That's how I felt at the time, anyway. There were parts where they took the lead. And that still is happening quite a bit, and that's okay. but I think we have to release more and more. And just here tonight in this program, and this, I had no intention at all, but here we have 4 of us who are stewards of this storytelling block, and we're all here tonight. And Maya and I are the elders of that. I think I can say that, Maya, without getting in trouble. We're obviously the older of the 4. And it felt that I needed to move the stick onto one of the others, and it went to Veronica. And there's a passing of the baton, which I've felt so much lately. With the elders passing the stick down, we need to be more resources and let the young people keep going and leading the way and charging ahead. First of all, they can move a heck of a lot quicker than we can in many ways. So I just want to recognize that and honor it and thank our 2 younger members of this foursome for being there and being willing to step up into that energy, because it's a lot. I'm complete.
Thank you, Jim, for trusting. I mean, I feel like very inspired by you all, and it's an honor to be here with you all. And I would like to invite Angelique to talk.
Thank you. I just wanted to speak a little bit about the tears and I know that there's different audiences that are going to be listening, but in terms of letting those go, like Maya, you were talking about just laying on the ground and letting those tears go. That's so healing and so regenerative and such a positive way to deal with those emotions. You know, there's a lot of very confusing emotions and very painful emotions happening on the planet right now with what's happening. And one of the things that just when you were saying that story just came into my mind to really remind everyone that is a beautiful, healthy way to give back in so many levels, just to let the planet know that we're there, but also for our own water, for those tears to be let go and to I think I mentioned in the comments, I'll just say it here now, like the water that we are, there's so many different characteristics of it, and seeing all of the different characteristics within us, and that those tears, wherever they are could be like in that sort of frame, could be a lot of times there's stagnation in our body, and so when we feel choked up or where something moves us, or like there's those kinds of tears where just like we get to clear out, and the water and that stagnation that was in us, that water that comes out in those tears is a representation of the vulnerability and the safety that the water felt in your love, in your heart space, to be able to come forth. Because how many times have we shoved it down, and we shove it down, all these feelings, all these emotions, and we don't let them actually surface and come out. And it really is, it could be a disservice, not only to our bodies, but to the spirit of our water, because she needs that flow. She needs to vent out. She needs to have this expression. And so sometimes they're happy tears. Like I was listening to the opening ceremonies, and it's just like, I couldn't, like, there were like 3 different periods where just like I just started laughing and in tears of joy, and letting like I'm so looking forward to the day when we all are shedding those kinds of tears, where we just can't even contain the joy and the love and this feeling of like the entire planet on that page. And from that place, like that is the frequency where we can elevate, as opposed to these lower vibrations that are happening right now, where people are having all these feelings, letting those go, but not staying in those emotions, because that's when we start to get in trouble. To let them go and find a different vibration, because when we raise and elevate our vibration, that allows us to move into other dimensions where God doesn't have the quality of love, but God is love. So when we're moving from that heart space where we're crying out of like happy tears, and we're setting out that frequency, then there's nothing holding it back, because we are exercising the gods that we were designed to be, as opposed to when we're holding on to these emotions and not letting them out and having these stagnations in our body that end up to be a cancer or some other kind of sickness, because there's just no movement and no flow. So I just wanted to speak to that. It was a beautiful way to, beautiful visualization of a way for us to transmute some of these emotions that we may be experiencing right now, and to remember that when we let them go, that leaves space for us to find those higher vibrations to be able to create a new outcome, because we can't create anything from the same frequency that it was made. So we've seen what we've made. We need to change the frequency and create something else. So thank you for sharing that. Man.
Thank you so much, Angelique. And we are coming close to the end of this wisdom circle. And we would love to hear Sue's song, and Daniel who closed the circle with a prayer. So would you like to do first the prayer and then the song, or
I'll do the song and then the prayer.
okay?
And I think that would
Thank
be
you, Sue.
a beautiful way to end.
Thank you.
This is called We Are One. And I think it's very apropos, so to speak, because we are connected to everything that we see, everything around us. And we all need to stay open and connected and have all our senses alive and awake and just listen and feel and connect to everything that's around us, including the waters. And because everything's alive, everything is alive, everything flows through us, and we flow through everything around us. And we are one. We are the mountains that we see. We are the trees so tall. We are the eagle in the sky. We are one, both you and I. We are the stars that shine so bright. We are the worm that crawls. We are the grasses swaying free. We are one, both you and me. Hey yo, weana hey. Hey yo, weana ho. Hey yo, weana hey na ho. Hey na hey ya ho. Hey yo, weana hey. Hey yo, weana ho. Hey yo, weana hey na ho, hey na hey ya ho. We are the sparkle in our eyes. We are the one we see. We are the moon so shining bright. We are one, both you and me. We are the life around us, connected to all we see, and know that life that's everywhere is within both you and me, is within both you and me. Oh.
Oh, thank you, Sue. And this song takes us to Daniel to end up with a prayer. Oh, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. We want to thank the giver of life for gathering this circle of wise people together. We want to thank the maker of destiny for forging us in one piece. Thank you for making us realize the importance of the water elements. We hope and pray that all the wisdoms and all our strategies will work towards making Mother Nature better, inspire our generation so that we can be able to make better things out of the chaos we see. Let those that try to destroy nature feel the wrath of nature itself. And those of us that fight vehemently to protect nature continue to blossom. Teach our children to know how to number their days and how to fight for Mother Nature. This is our prayer and our supplication to the giver of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Ahu. And if you wish all to unmute, and we can all send this prayer together to all be existing beings and expand this beautiful wishes or messages that we have been sharing, and tears, and this empathy that we are expanding with this circle. So I invite you to unmute, and thank you, Maya, with the blessed waters. We can all send the messages to the water that Maya will later give to the ocean. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Love and gratitude for you all and for being here.
What a powerful group. Thank you.